Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
You've come to the best station for hot news and sizzling commentary. אתם מקשיבים ל-Israel News Talk Radio.
Has the news got you down? Not with these funny guys. You're listening to Lighten Up with Steve Miller and Matt Zucker.
What should I say? Everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of Lighten Up. And as a testament to lightening up, we're experiencing some technical delays on the first show. So you'll bear with us. Excuse me. My partner in crime, Steve Miller, is somewhere in the United States struggling to find a Wi-Fi signal and a working microphone. So I'll just get us started. First of all, I'd like to thank Tamar and Israel News Talk Radio for this opportunity. A lot of fun. So what we're trying to accomplish with this program is, like the title says, just to lighten up. And I think if there's anything that 2020 and 2021, Stephen, hey.
I'm here.
Wow. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, sorry about that. This is what happens when you live in exile.
That's right. So I was just introducing ourselves to everyone. I'm Matt Zucker, half of the Lighten Up crew. Stephen Miller.
How are you?
Fantastic. Happy to finally get this going. As I was just saying to our listeners out there, that if there's one thing 2020 and 2021 has taught us, is that we need to learn to lighten up a little bit, because life is just a little bit too intense at times, right?
I agree. And this is perfect. Isn't this a great way to start the show that I couldn't even get on? My worst nightmare has come true.
It's just a test from Hashem.
I'll be fired before the hour's up.
Hey, listen, man, you just have to lighten up, okay?
I'm trying to. I'm sorry. I'm a little stressed out. I'm very nervous.
Listen, man, you know the old expression, man plans and God laughs, right?
That's right.
Right. Well, so we should be able to laugh with them, okay? It's just
I've been planning, and now, we got 15 seconds. We should talk about, real quickly, what we're going to talk about after the break. We got Jewish athletes. We got drunk driving in Ramallah. And also,
much more.
That's
Join us after this break.
Oh, awesome.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Israel is located in one of the most volatile areas in the world. Israel is an island of stability in a sea of war and unrest. In the midst of this turmoil, Israel stands out as a beacon of order and human progress. Each week we update you on what's happening in this, the Jewish state, a true light unto the nations. This is Jay Shapiro. Join me every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Has the news got you down? Not with these funny guys. You're listening to Lighten Up with Steve Miller and Matt Zucker.
All right, welcome back.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anyway,
Matt.
All right. Well, Stephen, now that
Yes.
we're both together, welcome back to Lighten Up on Israel News Talk Radio. So, Stephen, why don't we tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Of course.
Introduce yourself to our listeners.
That's right. This is our first show, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself, everybody. So actually, everyone wants to know, how did you get this gig, Steve? How did you get this gig? Actually, Matt, people don't know this, but I was actually I've been doing stand-up for about 25 years, and I was in a small little club in Gaza called the Bomb Shelter. And Israel News Radio, they snuck in because they heard that a Yehudi was performing. And so they said, we like what you say. You're hired. So that's how I got here. That's
So
how
I guess
got
you
the
didn't
gig.
bomb?
No, I did later, but I was rushed out very quickly in the back.
Anyway, so Stephen and I actually know each other. I made Aliyah with my wife this past August in the middle of a pandemic. Amazing, amazing experience, worthy of its own book. Anyway, Stephen and I are old friends from Chabad back in Galut, and Stephen asked me to co-host this program with him, and it's kind of funny how I wound up here, a Hebrew school truant, who's on my path to Teshuvah, and boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to make up for. Anyway, so we'll try to have fun. We'll try to keep it relatively clean. And
relatively clean.
What is first up?
Okay,
Steven?
well, I wanted to be relevant and current. So currently, right now, we have the Olympics going on in Tokyo. And I want to talk about Jewish athletes, Matt. Jewish athletes. Do you remember in the movie Airplane, where
how can you forget?
They were going by, and the people wanted the guy wanted some reading material for the flight, so he asks the stewardess, "Do you have any light reading material?" And she hands him a pamphlet saying, "Yes, this is a pamphlet on Jewish athletes."
A leaflet on famous Jewish athletes.
That's right. Famous Jewish athletes. Well, that was well back in the early days. But now, Israel, wow. Let me tell you something. First of all, the Olympics, there's a lot going on. But I just wanted to talk about every 4 years, this always comes up. Judo is very big in Israel. I guess it's a big sport. A lot of great Israeli athletes. And every year there's always some Arab that doesn't want to fight an Israeli. And this year is no different. So I wanted to talk about that. What'd you say?
Didn't we invent that, judo?
Judo? Well, it's got the word Jew in it, so probably. That's probably why they don't want to fight us. But so there was this Arab guy. I'm not sure which country he was from, but his name is Mohammed Abdal Razul. Say that 3 times. Abdal Razul. Mohammed Abdal Razul. He was ranked 469th in the world. So apparently, Allah blessed him very much. But this is what I don't understand. These guys, any athlete, you spend your whole life training, right? Probably they took Mohammed when he was a little boy, and my name is Mohammed. When they interviewed him, and my name is Mohammed, I trained all my life. All my life, Allah bless me with talent in judo. I will fight anybody. I will be the greatest Arab judo in the world. I've been training since I was 12. They took me away from my family. I haven't seen my family. I haven't spent one Ramadan with my family in 20 years. And like, sir, your first round, you're going to be doing a match against Israel. Excuse me? What did you say? Israel. You're going to be fighting a guy named Tohar Butbul. No, I quit. But sir, you've spent your whole life. You spent your whole life training. Allah tells me to quit. I'm quitting. What rank is he? He's ranked number 7th. That's beneath me. I do not fight anyone ranked in the top 10.
Well, listen, while you're talking about judo, there were actually 2 Iranian defectors. One guy, what was his name, who was forced to throw a match so that he didn't fight an Israeli. He gosh, his name is escaping me, but he actually dedicated his silver medal to Israel.
I saw that.
And there's what was this? Saeed Molai, it was his name. But then there's this other. So I'm reading up on this, and I see there's this other guy, Javad Mahjoub, who is another Iranian dissident. He left Iran because he was forced to throw a match, so he couldn't lose to an Israeli. So he now, Saeed works for Mongolia. Javad Mahjoub is competing. Get this, I kid you not, for the refugee team.
With the refugee team?
In the Olympics,
what is a refugee team?
In the Olympics. There is actually a team of refugees competing. They don't tell you what countries they come from, but there's 59 athletes representing 12 different disciplines, and they don't have a country. So they're competing at the Olympics as refugees, and I'm looking at this in disbelief, and I say, well, if they win, what national anthem do they play?
Well, they just combine all 50 into one mash. You know, like they always have a mashup. That'll be the the national anthem. Yes, please step forward, Muhammad from hut number 5, village 2. You have won the bronze.
Well, listen, while you're talking about the Olympics, did you hear about the Israeli that won the gold in gymnastics?
Yes, I did happen to see that.
So he's like a bit of a national hero. By the way, everybody who wins something in the Olympics for Israel is a national hero. Bronze, silver, gold, like third runner-up. It doesn't matter. Everyone is celebrated. It's really amazing.
That's what's beautiful about the Israeli people. They appreciate anything. You don't even have to win a bronze. You can come in 10th place. You're going to come back a hero. It's beautiful. This woman, I forget her name too. I'm forgetting all these names, but she won the bronze in Taekwondo, and she's like a national hero now, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking, here I am in America, and I'm thinking, the only time in America where people cheer is A, if you win the gold, or if you kneel for the national anthem. Then you get cheered.
Well, get this, though. The guy that wins the gold...
They don't appreciate athletes here like they do in Israel.
Listen, but this is the best. The guy who wins the gold, his mom, a day after he wins the gold, drops this bomb to the press. My son is not Jewish.
Dun, dun, dun.
So they moved to Israel. I don't know how long ago. I didn't dive that deep into the guy's history. So they moved to Israel. Mom is not Jewish. Dad is Jewish, which means the son's not Jewish. So she takes the opportunity of her son's gold medal to slam Israel for their marriage laws and the rabbinate's control over weddings because her son cannot get married. So I'm sitting here going, wow, what kind of mom is a piece of work, man? I mean, the kid gets a gold medal and mom uses it for a political statement to blast Israel. But it gets even better. You keep reading into the article, it turns out, why did they move to Israel? They weren't oppressed anywhere. They weren't persecuted. They didn't have a Zionist zeal. They wanted to go to a place that could nurture their kids' talent and have them compete on a world stage. So these people come to Israel, use Israel. The kid scores a gold. Good for him. Kol hakavod. I mean, great. But mom is now slamming the state of Israel for rules that she should have known existed before they even came in. I actually wound up feeling bad for this guy. I mean, God bless him. He's a champion, but he's got to go home to that. Woo!
I'd be like, Mom, you're killing it for me. I'm not going to get on the Wheaties box thanks to you.
It was really unbelievable. And then at the very end, the last line is, but they still made the right choice coming to Israel.
Yeah, after you bash Israel, right? And oh, my son can't marry a Jewish girl because he's not Jewish. Oh, but we love Israel. We're very appreciative. It's very typical,
right? And I got to tell you, baseball is actually very big. And it's another thing, right? So Israel is so proud of her athletes. They fielded a baseball team to go to the Olympics, and it was such a point of pride that they even were praised when they almost beat the Koreans.
Right. Let's call hakavod. We almost beat the Koreans.
Coming home I know you're not getting a medal, but kol hakavod, we're so proud of you. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's what's great about Israel. They appreciate everything, unlike here in America, where they'll cheer you if you boycott the Olympics or face the other way during the national anthem. Can you imagine if someone kneels during Hatikva? What would happen when they came back to Israel?
I don't think it would be safe if they did come back to Israel.
The Mossad.
Actually,
the Mossad would chase them down.
I don't think they would be hurt. Yes, they would not be welcome back here. I don't think that type of lack of patriotism flies in Israel. I sure hope not. I'm new here, but I can't imagine that does. Right, they have, look, you guys, people have in the States winning medals and getting up on the podium and doing their protesting, huh?
Yeah, that's America, baby. Ain't it great? God.
Don't get me started. Oh.
Listen, we got about maybe 20 seconds left. I want to is there anything you want to finish up about the Olympics? Any sporting, any great Jewish athletes? 15 seconds left.
No, I got to tell you, I'm not the biggest sports fan. I used to love baseball and football in the States, but, I got a lot of time back in my day now.
All right. Well, we'll be right back after these messages on Israel News Talk Radio.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Tamar? She's sassy.
She's smart.
She's funny.
But she's also a real Jewish mother.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tamar Yona. And yes, I can be all of those things, but at Israel News Talk Radio, I'm here to bring you the news stories and guests that you may not hear anywhere else. Join me live on air Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays for the most unique and bold talk radio in Israel.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Shalom, I'm Leah Aharoni. Join me on my show, News from the Torah. Each Sunday, we'll use the weekly Torah portion as a prism for understanding the news today. Listen to News from the Torah to gain clarity about the times we're living in and to understand your own spiritual path in the process. News from the Torah every Sunday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Has the news got you down? Not with these funny guys. You're listening to Lighten Up with Steve Miller and Matt Zucker.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the inaugural episode of Lighten Up.
Lighten Up on Israel News Talk Radio. I'm so happy.
Right, where our goal is to just lighten up.
Don't make you the news. It's insanity what's going on in the world today. So rather than curl up in a ball and cry while your thumb is in your mouth, because that's what I do, and go to therapy, listen to us. And just hopefully you'll laugh.
Listen to us and you'll feel really good about yourself.
That's right. And if you don't like us, then you should lighten up. Hi-yo! Or, Matt, they can call in the show. I'm not going to give out the numbers, but you can go on the website and the numbers are there. So if you want to call us and say how unfunny we are or, criticize us, because I love criticism, you can call us.
I know you're so good at taking it.
Anybody listening? I've got some people listening. My mother's listening right now. You want to say hi to my mother?
Hi, Mrs. Miller.
She sent me I forgot are you going into their studio? That's what she asked me last night. Yeah, Mom, I'm flying to Israel and I'm going to go into their studio. Well, I don't know. Are they going to offer you food? Are you going to get a lunch break?
I hope my mom doesn't call because I don't want to make fun of her, but it would inevitably happen. I love her.
Oh, I made my comedy career making fun of my mother.
My mother is like one of the few Jewish saints, but I can't help myself. But that's okay because just let me tell you a little bit about myself, right? So I come by it honestly. The two greatest women in my life were my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother, whose pet name for me was Paskun Yak, which is Yiddish for low life. I kid you not. And my mother would say, Matthew, don't love me so much, usually followed by go play in traffic.
Very nice.
So that is what has formed me in my
and my
my self-image issues.
All right, that's all right. Well, we're Jews.
But listen,
we're built that way.
I do want to share one piece of really good news with you. Okay?
Go ahead. Of course, that's what the show's about. What's next?
In the paper. The good news is that Israel has no more serious problems to deal with. We're all done. They must, because I look at the paper and I see Tel Aviv dog owners will be required to provide DNA samples of their dogs for poop enforcement.
Wow. How do you know that?
So it was in the paper. So they say an estimated, I don't know how they estimate the quantity. Oh my God. Estimated 500 kilograms of dog poop goes unpicked up every month in Tel Aviv. I don't know how they quantify that, but
wait a second. I have a question about this story.
Yeah.
Question, I'm raising my hand. Don't Israeli dog owners carry a doggy bag? That's what I do.
I guess if they do, they don't all use them. I don't know. But well, listen, I have to tell you, but here it gets even better, right? So here was the cherry quote I took out of the article. Okay. This will allow inspectors to collect samples of dog feces so that tickets can be mailed.
What?
Are you the dog feces inspector? What? Are they going around? And by the way, do they pick it up and like remove it, put it in a bag and take a sample? Or do they just bend over, take a sample, send it to the lab, and then mail out a ticket?
How do they even? So I guess you have to register your dog. How can they match the doo-doo with the right person and be able to mail them a ticket?
Well, because you're supposed to drop off a DNA sample when you pay for the dog license.
So everyone's staying in line at this building with
a bag
bags
of dog poop.
Very nice. Wow, that's unbelievable, Israel. I love that.
That's why I said, what resources? Now, listen, not that dog poop on the sidewalk is a good thing. There's too much of it. I get it. It stinks, right? But
literally.
Boom. What resources? How much money is being spent on dog DNA testing? You can't make this stuff up, and I can't believe people are so enthusiastic about it. I live in Zichron Yaakov. They're talking about doing it here. We have a feral hog problem. Who's gonna pick up all the feral hog and the feral cat feces?
Yeah, I did hear there's a big cat problem. When I actually was in Israel back in 2019, I was visiting a friend who lived in Jerusalem, and she was driving me to the bus station, and we go out to the parking lot in her building, and all of a sudden she got swarmed by like 20, 30 cats, and she had food with her, and she's feeding them, and I was like, oy vey, what's with the Jewish cats? There is a feral cat problem, isn't there?
There is, yes, but there is not a rat problem.
Okay. Well, that's good.
So anyway, so they wind up. What did I say? They wrote 3,500 tickets in 2020 to dog owners who didn't pick up.
Wow.
How many
shekels is
that? That's 3,500 tickets. I don't know how much what the shekel fine is for the thing, but I don't know, man. And what about the dog walkers? Dog walking is actual, like people do that for a living here. So what happens if you're one of these guys walking 4 yappers and you're not paying attention and one dog drops a package on the sidewalk? You don't see him because you're watching the other 3 dogs. You go on, the cops come and take the sample, and boom, mom and dad, are getting a ticket for what?
Well, then that dog walker is going to get fired. I would hide the poop. I would hide the poop. So I would not register my dog do with the Israeli government.
I just wonder who's going to be the dog poop inspector. I mean,
Yankel.
I guess that's a job for kids when they get out of the army or something.
Excuse me, Yankel. Mazel tov on your new job. Go pick up that dog poop and bring it to the office and find out what kind of dog it is.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so I love stories like that. It makes me think that maybe the world hasn't gone totally nuts if these are the type of things that we're worried about.
Hey, I wish that was Israel's worst problem.
So do I. Believe me, I don't think it is. Anyway, so what can I say? People are.
I wonder what the application is like when you're filling out for. What is the title of that job? Is it dog pooper checker upper? I have no idea. Like what? How do you fill out the application? Is there a job interview process? What if it's like down to you and two other Jews? Are they like? How do you, if you can't get a job picking up dog poop and giving out tickets, then what is wrong with you? I mean, how do you lose out on that job? There's somebody who didn't get that job.
Well, first of all, I got to tell you, there's actually a big unemployment problem in Israel. I think it's kind of like in the States too. So many people wound up out of work with COVID and getting great benefits. Hey, why the heck am I going to go back to work, man? I'm getting a nice paycheck sitting here. So, you have restaurants and retailers and hotels unable to fill positions, and now you're going to create a whole new industry?
Well, Israel is very innovative. So you can add this to the technological accomplishments of Israel. DNA poop collecting. Yes, you have a German Shepherd that was on the Route 60. I don't even know. Is that a real route? I have no idea. What's a big road over there? What's like a big road everyone knows in Israel?
Route 6. Highway 6 is the biggest one.
Highway 6, I found 3 poops from German Shepherds, 1 from a Husky, and then this one from a little Chihuahua. That must have been the Arabs. We will not find them. We only find the Jews.
Very nice. Very nice. Anyway, so... That's the crazy world we live in. Oh my God.
Good. Well, it's important. They need Well,
look, I remember. I guess it was not that long after 9/11. The world changed for the worse at that point, and I forget however many months it was. My wife and I, we were out of town at a bar mitzvah or something. We put on the TV, and the big news story was that someone stole the Bob Big Boy statue from in front of the local Bob's Big Boy, and we had our hearts were filled with joy that the world must be such a great place that was the lead story. And I have that same kind of feeling with DNA dog poop.
That's awesome. I would love to steal a Bob's Big Boy. You know what I did once when I was in school? You know what me and my friends did when we were in high school? This was actually very stupid, but at the time when you're a teenager, you think it's cool. We stole a cardboard cutout of who's the name of that famous football player with the beard? He did the advertisement for Flowers, 1-800-Flowers.
Merlin Olsen.
Merlin Olsen, you got it. We stole a Merlin Olsen cutout and put it in the middle of the road because in the cutout he was holding a bouquet of flowers, and we hid in the bushes to see if when people drove around the road, if they would swerve to think that they were hitting Merlin Olsen. How horrible is it? I look back on that, I'm like, oh my God, I was a horrible person. But at the time, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. We stole Merlin Olsen, and we're running out of the store with Merlin Olsen.
I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say to that.
There's really nothing to say. I just, I feel bad.
I did a lot
Merlin
of pranks
Olsen.
in my youth, but never something that stupid.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, that was love, man. Come on. Yeah, by the way, in case people didn't know that, Steven and I went to high school together.
Well, not really. We graduated in different years, but the same high school. We only got 15 seconds left, Matt.
Wow.
We're going to come back and finish up the grand opening of the show in just a bit.
More to come.
More to come.
In a time where feelings have become fact, where rational thought and common sense has disappeared, one man stands above it all.
I'm Howie Sobiker, your political hitman.
Political Hitman airs every Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. North American time, 7 a.m. Israeli time, only on Israel News Talk Radio.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Has the news got you down? Not with these funny guys. You're listening to Lighten Up with Steve Miller and Matt Zucker.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, well, sorry. Welcome back. Yep. This is Matt Zucker and
Steve Miller. And Steve Miller, you got to say my name too. Come on.
I was about to. You didn't let me finish, man.
I'm sorry.
This is
Lighten Up.
Only on Israel News Talk Radio. Anyway, thank you for joining us. This is our inaugural episode.
That's right. It's the show opener.
We hope it just gets better from here.
That's right. And it's the last segment. It's got to be gold, Jerry. Gold.
Well, what do you got for us then, Steve?
Well, there are so many stories, but there's so many things I really would love to talk about. There's just not enough time. But I do want to mention this one. I found this morning. I woke up early this morning, and this came up in the Jerusalem Post. The English church, the headline was, Church apologizes for expulsion 800 years later. And I thought, wow, God bless them. After 800 years of kicking out the Jews, they're going to apologize, eh? So apparently, apparently the Archbishop of Canterbury, his name is Justin Welby, very, very Anglo name, and he's announced that the Church of England, they're going to say they're sorry, but not this year, because this year it's only 799 years. They're going to wait till next year, mate, for 800. So basically they're going to say, okay. Next year, they're going to wake up and they're just going to be like, all right, Jews, on the count of 3, we're sorry. Okay, let's eat. They don't even care.
Well, maybe they're just hoping that we all go away in the next year so they don't have to apologize.
This is the 800th anniversary of the Synod of Oxford, which apparently, back in 1290, that's when they kicked out all of us. And now the good old English, they feel bad. Now, if this is an anniversary, that leads me to believe that every year they're celebrating this. So, like, this year is the last year. So, they're waking up. Some guy's waking up, oh, hey, honey, guess what today is? It's the last year we got to celebrate kicking out the Jews of good old England. Buy the beer. Pour me a pint. We're going to party like it's... Go ahead.
Like it's 1999,
right?
And how many of those people are like Corbyn labor loyalists? Oh, I love it. I love it.
Who knows? So next year they're just going to officially say, "We're sorry, Jews. We're sorry that we murdered you." Now let's go have a pint.
And everyone will accept it. But wasn't that nice of them to apologize?
Let me tell you something.
You know what? Do me a favor. Don't apologize for something 800 years ago. Why don't you just be nicer now?
Exactly. And you know what else they can do? They should all try to get their teeth fixed because the English have bad teeth.
I think that's a thing. Is that so much a thing anymore? I don't know.
I think it's a thing for me.
Like Austin Powers?
Right. They got Austin Powers going, hey, we kicked out the Jews in 1290. This is the last year we can celebrate it. I think my English accent is not even English. I think it sounds more Australian because I want to say, put another shrimp on the barbie.
On the barbie.
Put another Jew on the barbie. This is the last year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, too funny.
So that's what's going on in England.
Well, listen, I have something that I thought was pretty entertaining. Right.
Okay.
First of all, one of the things that I love about having moved to Israel is that in America, if you want to live a Jewish life and you're not in an Orthodox community, you go to synagogue, you send your kids to a youth group or whatever. But here, every single day, there is something Jewish to consider. For example, you know about the Shmita year, correct?
Shmita? Yes.
Shmita. The Shmita year is coming this year after Rosh Hashanah. And to our listeners who don't know, every 7 years we're commanded to let the earth rest, and we don't sow it.
You can't
plant. We don't prune. Right. We don't touch the land at all. We let it rest. So this year, the big dilemma is what to do with the pot harvest.
Pot harvest?
Marijuana. The cannabis industry is huge in Israel now. As a matter of fact, they just it's medicinal. I think technically it's still against the law, but if you walk around the streets in like Tel Aviv or parts of Jerusalem, you wouldn't think it's a crime. But anyway, what to do with the Shmita year, because the pot, the cycle that it costs to grow pot, it will never last the year. So it's hysterical. These are the things that we have to consider, right?
So what are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Well, it turns out, and I learned more about the Shmita from reading this article than I had ever learned, right?
Oh, come on. You know a lot about pot.
Marijuana. I said Shmita. This is the most I've learned about the Shmita year. Well, it turns out as long as what you are growing is not in the ground and it's on a pot sitting on top of the ground and undercover, then we're good. So I think all that stuff is pretty much grown in greenhouses anyway. So
they found a loophole.
Listen, there's always a loophole. The one thing that I've learned, and this is no disrespect, I actually think it's kind of amazing. If you have an issue, if you talk to enough rabbis, you find a loophole. So in my reading about the Shmita, I thought, before refrigeration and transportation and getting produce from overseas, what do you do when your land has to lie fallow for a year? So it turns out that in pre-48 days, when they were first setting up the agricultural communities, the rabbis came up with the workaround: temporarily sell the land to a Gentile. Boom.
Okay. So let me get this straight. So if the Jews want to grow marijuana in Israel, they can sell their land and have a Gentile grow marijuana, and then come knocking on.
It's not just marijuana. It's like any crop, really. You can sell your land to somebody.
Okay, fine. But let's come on.
Yeah. And by the way, just and just to clarify, so pot is not legal. You need to not be committing a crime. You have to have a doctor's license. So. Not to say that there's not. I'm pretty sure that not everybody who smokes it here has a license, but I can't speak from authority, so I don't know. But
do you have a license?
No, man, come on. I've only been here since August. I only had my first doctor's appointment the other day. By the way, I was a little nervous about the socialized healthcare thing. I have to tell you, call the doctor and they say, "Would you like to come in tomorrow or the next day?" In the States, I would have to book my annual physical like almost a year out.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have to see a specialist.
Yeah,
you can have like a lump in your neck. And there's a lump in your neck. You think it's a tumor? We'll fit you in November. I mean, it's ridiculous over here.
Well, listen,
I'll be dead by then. Thank you.
Everything I've learned about the health system here is if you don't need it, it's phenomenal.
No, I have a question about the marijuana thing for you. Yeah. So now in Shmita year, Shmita, I love that word. I wonder if in the Gemara at all, if the rabbis would argue about if there's an argument, if we can find an argument with marijuana and planting during the Shmita year. But I get sidetracked. What about when the last story you mentioned, the dog doo-doo story? What happens if the dog goes on the ground during Shmita year? Do you let it go into the soil, or
you're not?
Maybe that's used for plant. Maybe that's used for good fertilizer for marijuana.
I don't think so. I think that's
no.
I think that's a stretch now, man.
You think that's fake news? Yeah. Is that fake news?
But listen, one last thing about the pot story that I thought was totally awesome. When you got to read down to the meat to really get to the funny stuff.
Okay.
Apparently, marijuana in Israel falls under the dangerous drug ordinance.
Dangerous
drug. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a pot smoker do anything dangerous short of possibly stuffing their face too much.
I was going to say, the danger of eating too many munchies.
Too much. Anyway, I think you had another story you wanted to get to?
Yeah, actually, real quickly, I just wanted to get a story from the Israel National News. Drunk driving in Ramallah. Apparently, 2 women in their 40s got extremely drunk at a bar and decided to drive to Ramallah. And the Arab police pulled them over, and they sent them to the Israeli police. And the Israeli police were interrogating them. And they made up a complete story that they lost their friend in Ramallah. Now, this is what I'm thinking. How drunk do you have to be in Israel that you drive drunk and get lost and end up in Ramallah? You know, they were probably like, Devorah, let's do a couple of Chayims, and then we're going to make peace in the Middle East, and we're going to go to Ramallah, and all the Arabs are going to love us. Yeah!
That might be the case. So I'm assuming they were Jewish.
Yes. 2 women in their 40s that had really bad Manischewitz.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. I live outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs. I wouldn't even drive sober to Philadelphia. That's how dangerous it is. We got 30 seconds left, Matt. What do you want to say about this?
Listen, I got to tell you, people wind up going into Area A regularly, actually, by accident, and I don't know how it happens. Just yesterday, an IDF bus wound up in the wrong part of the Hebron in the Arab-controlled area. I don't know.
15 seconds left. Matt, thank you very much. This has been a great show. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Shavua Tov, everybody.
Next Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel time.
Word.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
Howdy, this is Rita from League City, Texas, now living in Israel. And though my heart may have belonged to Texas, it now belongs to Israel and all the fantastic show hosts at Israel News Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Michael Solomon from Kiryat Arba, Israel. And why do I love listening to Israel News Talk Radio? Because I love listening to the interesting interviews they do and their news reporting that most other media sources don't cover.
Hey, this is Nicoleko from Malmö, Sweden. It gets pretty cold here in Sweden, so I love cuddling up with a warm cup of tea while I listen to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Frank Morris from Tennessee. Me and my dog Buster really love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.